Yes, we'll be going much farther back in time to about 70 million years ago. And that will be about a very peculiar giant bird that we have been discovering in southern France and Spain in recent years. This bird was called Gargantuavis by myself and Jean Leboeuf back in 1998. And it's known by relatively few specimens. In fact, all known specimens are shown on this slide, so you see it's not a very large amount, but it covers diverse elements from vertebrae, pelvis, and limb bones, especially femora. So all this material is from a few localities only 5 actually. 4 of them in southern France, and you can see them on the map, all the way from Provence in the east to the foothills of the Pyrenees, and also in Spain, in northwestern Spain. That's number 5, the Lanio locality. Here are the various localities. If I can find a pointer. Yeah. First. This is Lanio in Spain, and all the others are in France. This is the first locality where it was found in the Fox-en-Foot in Provence, and Campagne-sur-Aude in the foothills of the Pyrenees, and those are Cruzy and Villespassa. All localities are apparently roughly the same age to judge from the fauna, the other elements of the fauna. And we have magnetostratigraphic evidence for 2 localities, 2 Gargantuavis localities, which are Campagne-sur-Aude here, which is earliest Maastrichtian, and Lanio here, which is latest Campanian. So they're very close in age, about 72 million years. I'll go through the main histological characters of this bird quite quickly, actually. The vertebrate, to start with, we have one single cervical vertebra, which is typically bird-like, being highly heterostylous, as you can see from the shape of the articulations, and it seems to be more advanced than those of other late Cretaceous birds, basal birds, such as in Eternites. The pelvis is quite well represented. Pelvis, I mean the synsacrum. We have several synsacra with parts of the pelvic bones here. This is a type specimen from Campagne-sur-Aude with a relatively well-preserved synsacrum and parts of the ilia. This is another specimen from Fox-en-Foot, and we have a few more. The synsacrum has a relatively small number of vertebrae, 10 or a little more, which is not much for a bird. It has a broad pelvis, which is a bit like that of some of the moas in New Zealand, and that suggests graviportal type of locomotion, so rather slow-moving bird. The acetylum, that you can see here, is in the cranial position relative to the synsacrum, which seems to be a peculiarity of that bird, and probably means there are not so many vertebrae, dorsal vertebrae, included in the synsacrum. The pelvis is very highly pneumatized, which is of course bird-like, and the ilia do not meet dorsally above the synsacrum, which seems to be rather basal here. And the limb bones, we have 2 femora. This one was found only two months ago, and it's quite nicely preserved. We had one previously which was somewhat larger, but not well preserved at all. The femur is typically avian. The distal end in particular is very advanced, and more advanced than that of Eternites. So it's basically what we can say about the anatomy of this bird, and quite clearly there are important parts we know nothing about, especially the skull. One question that's been asked sometimes is, why do you refer all that material to the single taxon? Because they are not from the same locality, they are not associated. It's just an application of Occam's razor, actually. It's just more parsimonious to admit they all belong to the same taxon, rather than suppose they are different birds. There is no special reason to suppose they are from different taxa. So for the time being, we just admit they're all Gargantuavis phyloides. So to sum up, it's a rather enigmatic bird of uncertain systematic position. It seems to be more advanced than in entomologins. Some people suggest it could be a giant in entomologin. Clearly it's not that, it's something more advanced, probably basal ornithorhynch. Its size is interesting. It's the size of an emu, a small ostrich. We have, as I said, two femora, and one is not much, but significantly larger than the other. And based on the first femur, we estimated a mass of about 140 kilograms, which is the weight of a large male ostrich. The new femur we found recently is smaller and suggests something maybe 60 kilograms in weight. But still, it's a very large bird, and it was probably flightless because such a bird of that weight normally cannot fly. The pelvis is very broad, and suggesting that it's a very portable bird, so not a fast-running kind of bird. But unfortunately, many aspects of its anatomy remain unknown, especially the skull, and so no reliable reconstruction is possible at the moment. All the same, I've shown here a reconstruction, but I show you where it comes from. It's from a ladle of a wine bottle that is produced in an area where the Gargantuavis was found. It's called Gargantuavis wine. So that's what we know about the Gargantuavis. Not much, but enough to say it was a giant bird with some interesting peculiarities, and certainly a flightless bird. So if we come to paleogeography, this is the kind of geographical framework within which Gargantuavis lived. And all the known localities of Gargantuavis are shown here by this, not all the localities, the main localities, in southern France and northern Spain. And at the time in the late Cretaceous, at the Campanian Maastrichtian boundary, Europe looked like this. It was an archipelago with a number of more or less large islands, largest of which was what is called the Ibero-Armorican island, comprising most of the Iberian Peninsula and a good part of what is now France. So the size, it was a relatively large island, I would say at least the size of Madagascar. And interestingly, there are also well-known vertebrate faunas from other islands of the late Cretaceous Europe, and we'll hear more about one of them very soon, especially in that, in that part of the world, in what is now Romania, and also in some the main non-French or non-Spanish late Cretaceous vertebrate localities are in Romania and Hungary at the moment. But no Gargantuavis remains have been found so far on this late Cretaceous island. So, for the time being, we suppose that Gargantuavis was endemic to this large Ibero-American, Armorican island. Interestingly, we found some histological characters which are in good agreement with an insular evolution of Gargantuavis. And a couple of years ago, Anastasia Cinsani and others, including myself and my co-author Delphine Arns, who's seen here, and or Ken O'Ville, who is here, we described the bone histology of Gargantuavis femur. And the first important thing was that the histology confirmed that it was a bird. It had been suggested perhaps Gargantuavis was not a bird at all, perhaps a pterosaur, which doesn't make any sense from an anatomical point of view anyway. But the histology was bird-like. But beyond that, the growth of this bird was shown to be slow and cyclical, as in some of the moas of New Zealand, which of course are insular birds. And interestingly too, a rather similar pattern, histological pattern or growth pattern was observed in a sauropod from the same localities in southern France as Gargantuavis, Ampeliosaurus, the titanosaurid sauropod. And Ampeliosaurus also shows a peculiar growth pattern. This growth pattern is cyclical, it's kind of relatively slow type of growth, which may have been related to the insular conditions under which both this dinosaur and this bird lived, with probably recurrent food shortages. So from that point of view, Gargantuavis maybe shares some features linked to insularity with other elements of the fauna. Now, could we consider that Gargantuavis is the result of insular evolution of this Ibero-Armorican island? I would say yes, probably. There are some reasons to believe so, and as I just mentioned, the histology would be in agreement with that, and also the fact that it's known only from that particular part of the world and not from the other European islands. But still, there are some interesting questions or problems. Well, we all know that giant insular birds have evolved on various islands in the past, like the moas in New Zealand with different 9 species in 6 genera, and the elephant birds of Madagascar, Purnis and Muronis. How many species there are is not clear. But a common point to all those giant birds on islands, whether they are moas or elephant birds, is that they evolved in the absence of terrestrial predators. There were no large mammalian predators at all in New Zealand in the days of the moas, and no large predators, mammalian predators in Madagascar either. And then what happened with birds very well known too, that when predators arrived, principally humans, they disappeared in a relatively short time, a very short time for the moas in any case. And this is the problem. The problem is that in the case of Gargantuavis, this is a general reconstruction of the fauna at the time, and there is no lack of large predators at the time. You have large herbivorous dinosaurs like those titanosaurs or Rabdodon, but you also have large terrestrial predators, and these are theropod dinosaurs, dromaeosaurids, which are not very large, and abricausaurids, which are much larger, up to 6, 7, 8 meters. So it's difficult to figure out what the position of Gargantuavis was in that kind of ecosystem, if we consider it was a large bird, as well as a slow-moving bird, and how did it cope with the presence of large terrestrial predators like this? Quite clearly, it was a very different situation from that in which the moas or the elephant birds lived in Madagascar and in New Zealand. So I would say that the place of Gargantuavis in its ecosystem is still very obscure. And one reason why it's still obscure is because its diet is completely unknown. We have no idea whether it was herbivorous, like moas or elephant birds, or perhaps carnivorous, like some Cenozoic large birds, like Phorusrhacids in South America, for instance. So that's one of the major points that are still unknown. So to conclude, it apparently evolved in the isolation of the Ibero-Armorican island in the late Cretaceous. So I would say it's probably a result of insular evolution. But how it fitted in an ecosystem which also included large terrestrial predators is still uncertain. And to get a better understanding of the ecology of this bird, what we really need at the moment is a better knowledge of its biology, and especially its diet. And this will have to be more fully investigated. So there are 2 ways you can do that. One is to find more material, especially geomaterial, for instance, that will give us good evidence about what it could eat. And the other way, if we don't find that kind of material, is to use isotopic geochemistry. And this is something my co-author has done very successfully on fossil giant birds like Gastornis, for instance, of the early tertiary. So that's something she will probably do in the near future, do some isotopic geochemistry on Gargantuavis material and try to figure out whether it was a carnivore or a herbivore, which would make it a bit more obscure and to give us some clues about its ecology and how it fitted into that peculiar insular ecosystem of the late Cretaceous. And with that, that's it. Thank you for your attention.